All right, fantastic. So, good afternoon again, everybody. Thank you and welcome to this webinar brought to you by CharterCPA in partnership with Etech Global Services. I am Hardik Panchal, the founder and director of CharterCPA Incorporated here in New York. I am going to be your moderator for today's event, so you'll have to bear with me, at least for some time before I hand things over. Now, at the outset, let me give you a quick background of who we are and what we do. CharterCPA is a global accounting and services firm headquartered in Great Neck, New York, with a state-of-the-art delivery center in India, where my friend and my partner Gaurav is based out of. We specialize in providing accounting, bookkeeping, payroll processing, taxation, compliance management, business formation, and a whole plethora of other services. Before we begin our session, and I invite our panelists to take over, I must thank our audience for participating in a large number, not just from US, UK, Europe, Australia, and some other parts of the Western world.
Hardik, may I just interrupt you?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but we can't see your screen. I think suppose you were going to share a screen, I thought.
I'm sorry. Here we are. Can you see it now? Can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Jim, can you see it?
Nope.
No.
Wow, hold on. Oh, that's right. Sharing.
Now it looks like it's coming up.
Okay.
There it is. All right, we're good to go.
Yeah, I'd like to start
Sorry
again.
about that, gentlemen. Right, so CharterCPA, like I said, we're into accounting, bookkeeping, payroll processing, taxation, compliance management, business formation, and a whole range of other services. The webinar today is going to be focusing on the impact of COVID-19 on the global economy and outsourcing finance and accounts in such trying times. I can assure you that it is going to be a very informative session today, and we will be presenting you with some polls during this webinar, which we request everybody to answer promptly on their screen, so I can share. And I'm also going to share the numbers as soon as the poll is finished. I would also like to announce that we have a raffle for all the participants on this webinar. There is a $100 Amazon gift card, for the lucky winner, who will be announced at the end of the session. So not too much, but I'm sure it's going to be fun. So without further delay, I guess I'm not going to take too much time. Without further delay, let me introduce you to our panelists today. Our first panelist and keynote speaker is Jim Ayub. Jim is a visionary leader and a prominent author and an acclaimed influencer. Jim is as a chief customer officer at Etech Global Services, a very large multinational corporation, which likes to be known as a servant leader organization, as they would like to call themselves. Offers a suite of customer services, including inbound, outbound customer care, quality monitoring and analytics, email and live chat. I guess that's one of their major business services, technical support, back office, and software development services. For Etech,
the slide's not moving again.
Hardik, can you move the slide, please? I don't have control.
I think I did put it on auto. So, all right, there we are. There's our panelist, Jim. Fantastic.
All good.
All right, super. I apologize.
Please keep a check on the slides.
I thought
good.
I thought it's automatic.
No, don't rely on Mac.
Oh my God. Okay, so for Jim, let me tell you, Jim manages Etech strategy, marketing, business development, IT, program implementation, and operational excellence. From what I know, Jim is very passionate and, as a personality, a very highly energetic business leader with a desire and drives to remain ahead of the curve in outsourcing solutions and service delivery. I have known Jim since a very long time. I guess, we came in touch very recently again, but I know him for over 15 years. I'm very sure everything I've said about Jim will be experienced by you and everybody else today that's attending while he takes over. Our second speaker is going to be Gaurav J. Mehta, a reputed chartered accountant from India. Gaurav is my partner and the founder and director of delivery at CharterCPA, which is right here. Gaurav's, all right, fantastic. So Gaurav is an exceptional operations leader, very highly qualified chartered accountant from India. Gaurav is an evident writer by passion and a great blogger. And I can tell you from what I've always seen him writing, he's an amazing blogger and a very persistent perfectionist. That's how I would like to call him. He's extremely persistent in perfection, and every small detail can never be missed by him. Gaurav leads the Global Delivery Center for CharterCPA based in India and has extensive experience in the finance and accounting outsourcing space for the past 12 years. Gaurav manages a great client portfolio that ranges from small and medium businesses to multinational corporations. Without further ado, I am going to have the first thank Jim Ayu for coming on board with CharterCPA and give us his time. And I'm going to invite him to set the tone for this event today. So Jim, the floor is going to be yours. I am now going to move to the presentation where you are going to be taking over.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. First of all, I'm going to turn my camera off just because I speak with my hands. I am a passionate, enthusiastic speaker, but some of you may be from all over the world, and I don't want to suck up all your bandwidth. So I'm going to turn that off. So number two, what I want you guys to understand is today's session, it won't take the full hour. We'll have some fun today. We're going to have interactive. Please use the chat function if you have some specific questions, and we'll take those throughout whatever. Next slide. So if you think about today's webinar, let's talk about this impact of COVID-19. I mean, it's nuts. This is unprecedented. We haven't been and seen this, in our lifetime, at least my lifetime. Some of the industries that are impacted, as you see, and believe me, I'm not going to bore you and read slides, okay? What I'm going to talk about is think about some of the industries that have not been impacted. Insurance, healthcare, call center industry. Let's talk about that impact. So if you think about it, we woke up one day, huge pandemic, and we had to basically move more than 80% of our workforce from brick and mortar to at home. We did that in about 7 days over at Etech. So when you think about switching to this remote format, a lot of companies I know and a lot of friends in the industry, they weren't set up for that. So a lot of those companies, people lost jobs, they shut down. When you think about this, and I would tell you, think about an emergency plan regardless. Whether you outsource today or never, I mean, when you think about it, you have to have an emergency plan. So, while we're getting back to semi-normal, and I don't know that it's going to be normal anytime soon, but you got to think about what support services that I can actually help so that my business doesn't go down. Because and we're going to talk about that as we go through it, but, get ready, because I'm going to share some data with you on phone calls, right? And I'm telling you, there's more and more conversations coming in, and I'm going to show, and I'm going to talk later on throughout the day, throughout today's session, about how I've analyzed the effectiveness of those calls and how we analyze the effect of the morale. So if we go to the next slide, you'll look at, let's talk about, specifically when you get into this roadmap to recovery. Well, I don't want to be, I typically don't talk politics, but I will say this, we need a vaccine. So let's be clear, right? But if you look back, even in June 2020, I read an article about, people were saying it was, a recession that we're in, right? When you look at today's, I think it's about, last I looked, 22 million Americans, 13% of the labor force, that's a lot, right? The duration of this coronavirus, it's unprecedented. We came into this in March thinking, oh, it'll be a couple months by summer. Now we're looking at, end of year. Some companies that I saw in the news are actually saying their people are going to stay working from home until summer of 2021. So we got to talk about what are some of these steps that, we need to recover. So the country has to get it under control. We get all that. But if you take advantage now of some of the things you can do in an outsourcing world, it actually will help you to predict or prevent a future opportunity, such as being shut down. I'm seeing my daughters in school, right? So she's back to school now. Well, what's going to happen if someone gets COVID? They're going to have to shift to a remote workforce again, right? Those teachers are going to have to go remote again. I know some of them are all remote. So you got to think about some of those things. And when you do that, the government, they're going to continue to support businesses. I get it. The small business is important, right? And hopefully they'll be able to survive, and we're going to eventually reopen. So let's talk about the next. We have a little poll. Next slide.
All right, so we're going to have a poll here. I am going to have everybody, just quickly. Okay, let me see here.
There you go.
All right, hold on a second. Okay, the first poll question is right here. Okay.
I can't see the poll, Hardik.
Right, give me 1 second, Gaurav.
Technology is wonderful when it works, gentlemen. We get it. There you
Right,
go.
how is your business impacted by COVID-19? You're attending, and okay. All right. Everybody. All right, great. Let's move forward. All right, next slide here, Jim. Go ahead.
So how do you revive? Let's talk about the innovate, right? Some of the lessons from the past, right? So you think about prioritizing people, understanding these trends, and creative, adaptive, long-term information. But let me just give you guys some numbers, so I think it's important. So during COVID, when we actually deployed remote people, we saw a 1.6% increase in customer frustration. We saw an increase of about 5.5% of agents not being able to handle. So it was like powerless to help. We saw about a 3% increase in can't understand the agent for a variety of reasons, right? So when you think about it, external escalations increased by about 75.5%. Agent, powerless to help went up about 72%. And when you look at some of the other factors, interaction, AHT or average handle time in the contact center, it went up about 10%. And silence time went up about 13%. So what does that tell you now? So here's what we tell you now. So now we know what those issues were. And when we're going to talk about this throughout the day, but when you understand the issues, you identify the issues, you can actually minimize your risk. You put a SWOT analysis team in. So what we were able to do is we were actually able to decrease escalations by about 71%. We actually decreased powerless to help language by 62%. We actually had a 37% decrease in average handle time and a 22% decrease in silence time. And that's what we're talking about, is how you prioritize the people, understanding the trends, and then be adaptive, because whatever you thought was going to work doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. You really need to get into it and talk about that. Next.
Right, great. I have another poll question here for everybody. Have you benefited your business from the COVID-19 relief grants or subsidized loans offered by the government? Poll in for attendees only. Attendees can now select their answer real quick. I'm going to give them about 40 seconds before I close the poll. Okay, we're getting some numbers here. We're collecting responses. Fantastic. All right. I guess we are now close to 100%. Okay. All right, everybody, a few more come in. All right, fantastic. I'm going to close the poll now and share results. I guess 75% people are saying they haven't applied, but there are 25% people that are saying they did. Okay, great. Next slide here. Jim, go ahead.
You didn't move your slide. I'm still stuck on the how to revive and innovate.
There you are, sorry.
That's okay, coming in. Still hasn't moved to my side.
change the slide, Hardik.
1 second. I think I'm changing it. It's
That's
not
okay.
coming up. All right, there we are.
There you go. So let's talk about outsourcing, right? So when you think about outsourcing, right, this is the things we talk about, right? So you can outsource finance, accounting, there's a million things to outsource. So when you think about it, it's not just cost. A lot of people say, hey, let me just try to control my cost by outsourcing. See, when you get companies like CharterCPA, right, firms like that actually can be a trusted advisor, they can actually help you look at company differently, right? They can look at things that you may or may not be doing, not only in the accounting, but what about other internal controls? What about business processes, making sure we have checks and balances, right? I mean, when you think about it, a third-party assessment is actually easy to do because it's a different set of eyes. So it's really good. And when you do outsource, when you think about it, you know, you can outsource parts that you may not be able to get, you know, yourself, like a real CFO that's going to be able to help you. You know, you might not, you might want to look at some other things, right? You know, how do I manage my cash flow, right? You know, how do I do, you know, finance and accounting in an effective way? What if I don't need a full-time CFO? Can I get somebody to help me? Those type of things are actually really good. It also gives you access to people that can help you increase your bottom line, help you access better technologies, right? Because we all know we don't want to spend a ton of money in technology. So when you find an outsource partner that actually has that technology, it's great. Next. So before I turn it over, this is my last part I wanted to talk about. So how does outsourcing help your business? I mean, you got to think about it. There is definitely significance of achieving cost control. So make no mistake about it. You can't compromise quality. You know, we understand that, right? So that's why, you know, finance and accounting is just one part of an outsourcing model that somebody's doing it. It's their core competency. So when they have seasoned people working for them, like CharterCPA, it helps you. It actually helps you in companies. First and foremost, you need to hire the right people and train them well. So what if you hire someone who's not perfect? And then what ends up happening is you're gonna have to retrain, rehire. So when you get to an outsourcer, the difference there is they get the right person because it's in their best interest to keep that person, and then they train them. That's what they're looking for. So when you think about that, many companies, they don't realize going, you know, they can manage an outsource provider actually better than their in-house team. Because, you know, you might know your secretary, your CPA or whatever, and you might have a friendly relationship. When you outsource things, outcomes are more likely to have clear metrics, clear deliverables, service level achievement, right? KPIs, which is your key performance indicators. That allows them to continually improve and increase your accounting and finance operations. So when you think about some of those things we talked about before, you know, escaping that resource crunch, boosting that bottom line, access to that technology, right? In these crazy times, this is the perfect solution. It would help continue to grow your business without a ton of CapEx. You know, with COVID-19 pandemic, you can not only save on technology costs, but you can also save on some of these operational costs. You know, what if you had to shut down, you know, because of COVID, whether you had to buy masks, PPE, whatever it is, right? You know, when you outsource things, you keep the business running. We've been blessed at Etech because people have been coming to us because they didn't want to shut down and they wanted help and they wanted to be able to do these things, and they just weren't set up to actually go to a work from home secure model. Because you got to think about security, transmission of data, and, you know, all those type of things. If you think about it, my friends at CharterCPA and Etech, we've been working during the entire lockdown. I didn't get any time off. I mean, you know, when you think about it, outsourcing, that's where we can deliver, or they can deliver results. I mean, that's the one thing I want to tell you. And the last but not least, I'm going to just a couple more bullet points before I turn it over to my partner, but a couple things you should think about. When you're hiring people, training and attrition, those are things that actually have an expense. A lot of people don't understand that. I hire a junior person, they come in, they work for me for a year, I teach them everything, then they leave me, and then I got to start all over. When you're in an outsourcing world, those things don't happen. You get flexible pricing plans with outsourcers. Outsourcers can light up 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever people you need. They could do fixed pricing, hourly pricing, FTEs, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, those people are skilled and they're able to jump in and do what you guys want to do. The one advice I give you, no matter who you pick, and CharterCPA is one of the ones I know in the industry. I've known them for about 15 years, as you said. Make sure you set forth your clear expectations, and they can work within the scope of what you're trying to do. You know, be clear with your KPIs and SLAs, your turnaround. Like if you send something, when do you expect it back? The biggest advice I would tell you, and the biggest mistake I've seen in my career, don't shop for price. Price costs you more money in the long run. I mean, people come to me a lot of times at Etech and try to say, well, I got a quote from XYZ and it's $4 less than yours, you know, an hour or whatever. I'm like, listen, they're not going to be able to do the job that we said or you wanted. You know, I've turned away business because people wanted to focus on price. Price is not always the best thing to think about. What you should be thinking about, right, is review the contracts, the business, the SLAs, talk to the leadership, review the leadership, see what the leadership is doing in that company. And that's what I can tell you. My final thought for you guys, outsourcing allows people to get more qualified people and tools to tackle the stuff that forces them to slow down, lose productivity, and help create something better with their clients. I hope that was really informative. I'm ready to ask some questions at the end. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Gaurav, and let him take us away on his company. Thank you so much.
I have a poll question. Thank you very much, Jim, for that great session. I have a poll question right here that's coming up for everybody. So here we are, launch the poll. Have you ever outsourced your finance and accounting function before? The attendees can now, answer, and I will share some results as soon as we are done. Results coming in. We have 30 more seconds. Okay, collecting responses. Let's close it and share results. Here we are. Yes, 20%, no, but 60%, and partially, yes, that's about 20 more percent. Okay, let's get back to the screen now. Close the poll. Okay, closing the poll now, sharing the screen. Fantastic. Well, Jim, thank you very much for that session. I'm going to now turn it around to Gaurav, Gaurav Mehta, our Chartered Accountant and Director of Delivery at CharterCPA. And I'm going to give Gaurav the ability to take the screen over. Gaurav, it's all yours now.
Hey, thank you, Hardik. Thank you, for the heroic, introduction that you provided to me earlier. I'm sorry, but I cannot.
Now you can share your screen. You will have to share your screen, Gaurav. The PPT
okay.
On your screen.
Okay, just hold on. There we go. And right there we are. Okay. Okay. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Great. Now, why isn't this moving? Okay, guys. So thank you, Hardik, for the lovely introduction that you have provided earlier. It's very humbling, when somebody reads out your achievements. At the outset, as a member of CharterCPA, I would like to thank Etech Global Services, for partnering us with for this event, and my very good friend Jim Ayub here for setting the tone for this webinar. Now, Jim indeed has provided some great insights into the current situation in the US markets, and of course, it reflects a lot globally as well, the recession and the scenario across the industries at large. And it's not just the US, but different industries globally concurred with the damp mood. Now, as everyone has been impacted, one way or the other, in terms of their businesses. Now, some of the stats that Jim provided in his presentation have really been an eye-opener. Jim, myself, I hadn't looked at some of them, and as to how we all have been impacted, and how businesses need to think and adapt with the changing horizon. I would only add this before I commence my presentation that business owners need to evaluate meticulously how they deploy their resources, optimize their teams, and find effective ways to manage their overheads in such a way that efficiency is sustained. That is all what is needed, through these times, until we see, the world completely coming out, of this situation. Now, this brings me to address the elephant, for today's webinar: how outsourced finance and accounting can help a business sustain and scale up in the pandemic times. For the benefit of our audience, as we realize many of them are new generation entrepreneurs, as well as some accountants, I would like to start by giving a quick insight into the history of outsourcing and how prominent it has been in the last couple of decades. So it has been, outsourcing isn't a recent phenomenon. It has been in vogue since the Industrial Revolution in the 1700s. It was the West that tapped this idea by outsourcing and offshoring their production to the East, leveraging on the cheap labor available. So outsourcing wasn't much for services back then. It really gained prominence in the 1980s and 90s as information technology evolved. It was purely IT source outsourcing in those years, like software development and maintenance. Evolution of information technology in the late 90s shed light on the potential to use outsourcing for other services as well. That as it got automated, and digitization was a term that started gaining more and more popularity. The world today witnesses outsourcing, especially offshoring, happening for various avenues, like customer service support for financial services sector, marketing support such as telemarketing, web sales support, something what our friends at Etech do greatly, billing and medical transcription support for healthcare sector, which includes for doctors, clinics, and hospitals, recruitment support for the staffing industry, and above all, finance and accounting. Now, CharterCPA Group is into a lot of these outsourced services besides finance and account support as well. Now, we all need to understand that as any startup or small or mid-sized business, we need to realize that every large company today has reaped the benefits of outsourcing their functions offshore. And that didn't happen only after they made it large. They used the outsourcing to their advantage right from their beginnings, and aligned their business processes such that they amassed greater profitability and became cash rich. Companies like American Express, Apple, Swiss Air, British Airways, General Electric, and some IT giants like Accenture and IBM and the likes too discovered the advantages and implemented outsourcing when they were very humble. I'd like to add that, Jack Welch once said, that 70% of your processes should be outsourced, 70% of the outsourced processes should be offshore, and 70% of the offshore outsourced processes should be done in India. I'm now going to share a few stats that would reveal the scale at which outsourcing is rampant today and which countries are making the most of it. While oil and gas sector is the largest contributor to the global economy, outsourcing sector has emerged rapidly parallel to it. Some stats reveal it was $93 billion industry by the end of 2019, and it has actually doubled since 2000. Earlier, IT outsourcing was the main contributor to this industry, but other services like F&A outsourcing have now, pretty much having an equal share in that number. Happily, United States is the global leader using outsourced services, and about 85% of the global deals are generated from the States alone, only to be followed by the United Kingdom, Europe, and Australia. Many of you would be surprised that a staggering 70% of the US companies outsource their functions offshore. And interestingly, 40% of the small and mid-sized US businesses outsource today, including every startup. I suppose there's a time for the poll, Hardik?
Yes, sir. So there's a poll question, everybody, that's coming up. I am going to share the question now. What is the primary reason for outsourcing the F&A function? Attendees can answer at this time. They can select from the 5 options, and as soon as I'm collecting responses in full, I
hope everybody else is able to see the poll, because being the panelist, I'm not able to see it.
Yes, everybody's able to see it.
Great.
We'll probably have a poll for panelists too next time going forward, so you don't feel left out.
Yeah, we are deprived.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to close the poll. We are at 45 seconds now. I guess that's it. Okay, and sharing results now. All right, so here are the results. 33% would want to focus on the core business. 33%, probably the equal, is going to want to scale up. Nobody's understaffed. That's a good thing. 33% want to save costs. So I guess it's an equal share of on all these 3. I'm going to close the poll and give you back the. All right, fantastic. Gaurav, you're back.
Great, fantastic. I suppose everybody can see my screen there again?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So COVID-19 reinforces F&A outsourcing, and I believe it reinforces every type of outsourcing, my friends. As we approach the crux of the webinar discussions, we need to understand that outsourcing and offshoring as a tool to optimize business processes has always been a viable course when implemented strategically. The COVID situation has only re-emphasized this choice. The sudden outbreak of the pandemic has affected every business in some way, be it small. It has off-roaded business strategies and models and forced entrepreneurs and accountants to rethink their paths in realizing their visions. The epidemic forced control measures that were unheard of and the consequences that were unprecedented, forcing the Great Depression-like situation once again. Revenue declines owing to failed demands, workplace shifts, layoffs. The way they happened was startling. It only made every business leader go back to the chalkboard to re-strategize and reinvent the business to comprehend a sustainable future. Times today warrant every entrepreneur to keep their accountants closer than ever before. Finance, being the bloodline of any business and at the center of every business function, be it sales, production, administration, hiring, all require close tracking and innovation. And only a well-read and experienced accountant could help make that impact study on your business functions and steer you through this turmoil. Startups, small and mid-sized businesses need ample guidance today to maintain a rationale with their overhead without compromising on efficiency. Accounting leaders from CPA firms too are struggling to maintain service deliveries owing to staff issues, which have only increased further as a result of COVID. CPA firms these days are not only striving to manage accounting or financial reporting, but need to be in constant interaction with their clients to help them decide on alternative business strategies, redrawing their financial models, projecting tax implications, and above all, also support them with the various relief measures offered by the governments, including the grants and relief, tax reliefs, to assure that they get the maximum benefits for their plans. All of this can be too overwhelming for accountants, my friends, as the pressure to deliver is tremendous. I myself, as at CharterCPA, we helped all our client friends, apply for the PPP loans and the EIDL loans. And trust me, we also supported, a lot of CPA firms, for applying, these for these grants, from for their clients. And trust me, it was pretty much overwhelming, but as the team we are, we were pretty much ready, when these announcements were made, and we were able to successfully, make the applications, as soon as, the process to apply for these relief, went live, and 90% of our clientele was successful in achieving, this business loans. So Charter CPA during COVID lockdown, as Jim earlier said that we were operational in supporting our clients, including CPA accounting firms. We proudly say that our clients have been pretty seamlessly steering through the current scenario, and they are pretty much well informed due to the timely reporting and real-time support that they get from our team sitting offshore as well. So as an entrepreneur running a business or a CPA having his or her own practice, before you think of outsourcing, like every decision, you must lay out the rationale to your decision. Now, anybody with the slightest awareness on outsourcing would say, oh, we are doing it to save our costs and overheads. Now, albeit it may be your primary reason, and as Jim earlier said, it's critical to be aware how outsourcing potential can be unleashed to not only just save costs, but enhance your competencies and scale up faster. So let's look at the main pointers behind taking this decision. Core business focus. You wish to be spending more of your entrepreneurial time being innovative, creative, and strategizing for your products or services, for efficient deliveries to your customers, and build up such a customer experience like none other. Deploying relevant onshore resources only. Guys, you want to spend your cash wisely and only deploy your finances richly towards key resources that you need onshore to build your top line. The cost you save by outsourcing offshore your routine functions will only allow you to achieve it faster. For instance, when you save by offshoring tasks against your costs for hiring a support resource in-house or locally, you can deploy your spare monies confidently towards functions that generate revenues onshore. Now, every business idea once was small and it grew and scaled up successfully only by building a proper organization, a team that was able to match up with their pace and facilitated support with the lowest turnaround in every department. So if you're looking to scale up quickly, outsourcing is a great option. Now, this is a perennial issue, understaffing. You cannot afford the risk of being understaffed, with a great idea that you have converted into your business today. You want to make sure that your time isn't being wasted on managing people, hiring or training them for the most simplest or the most non-core tasks, should I say, that your business needs to execute. They may not be important tasks, for you, but at the same point of time, they need to be carried out in order to make sure that your business is running successfully. You have the tools on hand to manage your reporting on time and help you take good business decisions. Cost arbitrage. Profitability is the sole end goal for every business, friends. A startup or a small business has to present a sustained and growing bottom line pattern since inception. Even when you grow, you want to maintain it to support your growing finance needs. Borrowing capacities are best measured by your profitability, and you want it to be strong when you wish to go for expansions. Hardik, I suppose we are in for a poll?
We have a poll question, yes, coming up. What is your primary concern with regards to outsourcing your finance and accounting function? At this time, I'm going to request all the attendees from all, 6, 7 countries, we have today to answer. 4 options: information security, training and transitions, unaware about the cost, service provider competence. Okay, we have a few seconds before I close the polls. Once again, I request all the attendees to answer. All right, let's share results. So 33 and 67% on number 2 and 4. All right, I'm going to close the poll now and let Gaurav take over. Gaurav, you're back.
All right, thanks. Okay, guys. Well, I believe the discussion this far in this presentation certainly tells you all a bright and pro outsourcing angle. But entrepreneurs and accountants have their own anxieties and apprehensions about outsourcing. So let's look at the 6 primary concerns, which I feel in my experience is something that the entrepreneurs today experience. We start with confidentiality. Let's address the dinosaur concern for every business or CPA first up, which is information privacy for their business as well as that of their customers. It is absolutely a valid apprehension, and before one outsources offshore, you need to judge the information security capabilities of your offshore partner thoroughly. Control. You would wonder, what if you outsource and there is absolutely no control whatsoever over your offshore accountant in terms of deliveries or your processes? Judging the service provider's experience, his team size, and competencies, the work timings of their team is crucial for satisfaction, of every entrepreneur, is looking to outsource. Competence. Not knowing what educational strengths, skills, and exposure your offshore accountants have gives a lot of businessmen and accountants butterflies. An accountant that is well-read, great with communication, and abreast with accounting and tax regulations is what one needs to be looking for. Coaching. Now, bringing an offshore accountant and his team up to speed with your business and practice affairs and being worried about recoaching resources owing to any attritions by way of transitions or handovers is another fear. You have to be absolutely certain of your offshore accountant's capacities to have trained backups during such events, and you need to be aware what kind of team sizes do they operate with. Capacity building. To be sure about the offshore partner's appetite in terms of infrastructure or people, it's vital in order to assure yourself that they will be able to support you with your increasing business transactions and complexities. Excuse me. Precisely at a time when your business needs to shift gears and it is going to scale up. So you need to be sure that your offshore partner has the necessary capacities at his end. And lastly, costs. Outsource accounting firms like CharterCPA offer a variety of flexible pricing options today, as Jim earlier said. Nothing to say about it, but you need to determine, along with the accountants such as us, your scope of work, delivery timelines, as accurately as possible in order to be able to choose the right pricing plan for your business or practice. If this isn't worked out well enough, spiraling costs is definitely a concern. Even if when it comes to outsourcing offshore, you need to have clear lines drawn out in terms of your scope of work and service level requirements. You don't even want your outsourced accountant to feel underpaid if the work scope isn't appropriately measured. Now, friends, one can be wary of all these concerns, especially when your outsourced accountant sits offshore and has absolutely no US presence. The good thing about CharterCPA, friends, is that we are an outsourced accounting firm which is based in US, New York, and undertaking deliveries for its clients offshore. So we have accessible, responsible, and accountable teams present at both the places. So while we have gone through with the rationale and the concerns about outsourcing, the evident question that lands is, how do you evaluate an outsourced accounting firm like CharterCPA? So let's look at this checklist. Credentials. As a business or CPA evaluating an offshore accountant, one should assess their credentials by verifying their legality and their management team. Speaking to the service provider's management, should give you the first comfort or idea as to how formidable they are as a service provider. What are their working hours? While your work is getting done offshore, you should be checking about the working hours of your accountants. Do they match your working hours, or are they available for a majority of your business day? CharterCPA Offshore Delivery Center works in all 3 US time zones, Eastern, Central, as well as Pacific. Security infrastructure. One needs to understand in detail how an outsourced accountant manages information exchange with his clients. Does he simply do it over emails, which can be risky? Or does he have a personalized cloud service that is secure? You need to interview your accountant about how is the information managed at his end. Do they share your information internally on a need-to-know basis only? Are the service providers' resources, their accountants, legally bound with them for confidentiality and privacy covenants? Next, system capabilities. You need to inquire about what accounting, payroll, or reporting systems are the offshore accounting team familiar and capable of. How many years of first-hand working experience do they have on these systems? By systems, I mean expertise on accounting software like NetSuite, QuickBooks, Sage, Xero, whatever you're using at your end, to manage or maintain your books. Payroll solutions such as ADP, Gusto, Intuit, JustWorks, etc., or AP, third-party AP solutions like Bill.com. I'm just giving examples, friends, here, and you may want to ascertain them for their capability to adapt to the various other softwares that you might be using for your organization. Experience. Knowing what qualifications the outsourced accountants team holds, what's their years of experiences working with US or UK accounting, types of industries they have served, whether the accountants are subject to regular training on software, as well as basic regulatory changes. All these questions help towards comforting yourself with the accountant's competency. Case study. Now, this is an absolute important point, friends. You could ask your outsourced accountant to provide a case study. You shouldn't hesitate asking him about it, because having the case study would give you an idea about the accountant's client's work profile, what kind of client is he handling, a general profile about it, the transaction volumes handled, the systems they are deploying or using for that particular client. And that should give you a sound picture of what it would look when they work for you. Pilot project. Now, if after having satisfied yourself with all the earlier points we discussed and you still feel any hesitance, you could ask your outsourced accountant to provide or undertake a pilot project for you. At CharterCPA, we entertain such requests by providing 1 month's pilot accounting services. You only pay if you're happy and wish to continue, else it's free. So folks, we have covered exhaustively what you as a business owner, a CEO, founder, or a CPA accounting firm owner should be doing in order to evaluate outsourcing your business finance and accounts. So let's quickly run through the resulting benefits of outsourcing here. Reduced infrastructure and technology cost. When you outsource your entire accounting function or do it partly, it certainly saves you on infrastructure and technology cost involving in maintaining an in-house resource. Freedom from personal issues. You are freed from managing people. That's taken care of by your offshore partner. Once your work's transition happens, any issues related to attritions, transitions, training are all their lookout. You can just sit and relax and expect your work deliveries happening on time. Professional and skilled accountants, who are up to US regulations are available, at an outsourced accountant such as ours. We have such kind of accountants, who are qualified with US and UK qualifications for accountants, and they are pretty much hands-on, with the regulations that keep changing in these countries, and that's how they keep our clients safe and up to date, with their records. Cost arbitrage. You will undoubtedly save a lot, as we all know. But I'd just like to give you a number. There is at least a 50 to 60% saving that is possible on your costs. If you hire people in-house, you are going to end up paying for their payroll taxes. You're going to pay them for their benefits, and you're going to take undue obligations on your head. On part of the state or the authorities or the IRS in order to make sure that you're fulfilling your obligations thoroughly at all possible times. So it's going to save you a lot, when you just are going to outsource things. CFO and controller services. A seasoned accounting firm such as CharterCPA, we are never short of senior industry professionals, who have had experience dealing with multiple industries and businesses, and they stand to be your virtual CFO or controller for a fraction of the cost of hiring a full-time onshore CFO. The further beauty of it, friends, is that you can even get a virtual CFO or a controller part-time or even on demand. Offshore team works in your time zones. This is the biggest advantage, so to say, friends. Having your offshore team available during your business day enables you to liaise effectively and conveniently with them. End-to-end F&A service. Now, a firm like ours can offer you end-to-end F&A back office away from your office, covering both your procure-to-pay functions as well as order-to-cash functions. A firm like ours can not just take care of your general bookkeeping and accounting, but manage your accounts receivable, accounts payable, management reporting, tax preparations, audit liaison support, right to the end of a successful financial closure. You can be rest assured of timely and accurate reporting, as well as customized management reports. This will aid you with better timely evaluation of your business affairs and making meaningful business decisions. Secure data exchange and management. A seasoned outsourcing firm with robust IT infrastructure and all logical and physical controls will leave you with the peace of mind about financial data security. Outsourcing is tax deductible. Now, we have come across with this question a lot in the past from business leaders, and they've always raised a concern whether outsourcing expenditures are tax deductible. So let's be clear that the same as deductible expenditure at arriving at your income for tax purposes, be it the IRS or the HRMS. Further to the benefits outsourcing F&A offers to every business, including accountants, there are certain additional advantages that I would like to outline specifically for CPA and accounting firms. You have a dedicated offshore accountant. Now, a firm like CharterCPA provides CPA firms with their own dedicated accountants as well, thereby allowing them to manage them as they deem fit as their extended team, having them use their own emails or communication channels as they prefer for their clients as well. So we are available full-time and part-time as well. Accounting firms, can engage either full-time or part-time accountants. We also offer hourly pricing models for self-employed small-sized accounting firms without any minimum fee commitments. Client liaison. As most of our accounting firm clients currently do, we manage client liaison for them as well for want of information exchange in order to process their accounting, payroll, AR or AP, and as well as audits. So what this allows you as a CPA or accounting firm owner is to focus on customer relationships and requirements. See, outsourcing your routine services offshore, you can significantly invest that time in building a client experience, manage better relationships with them and provide them value-added services too, thereby expanding your portfolio of services. Audit support. If any of your clients require audit compliance and you need to support them as their accountants during an audit, our team is equipped to handle audit queries for you and your clients as well. Now, being able to share your burden for preparing tax returns prior to deadlines is a huge relief. It saves you from all the stress, as our teams would not just prepare the tax returns for you, but at your instructions would also be available to liaise with your clients for information. That way, you only stand to communicate with your clients for their tax planning or reviewing their final returns. The hard job is already done. So, as a CPA accounting firm, you will be surprised, how your business development time increases and, the bottom line soars within no time. Thank you guys so much. You can reach out to me, by scanning or taking a click of the barcode there. It's a direct link to my LinkedIn profile. And as Larry Page says, CharterCPA always delivers and expecting more, delivering more than expected. Sorry for jumping that up. Anyways, Hardik, over to you for the Q&A session. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, Gaurav. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, everybody, for paying attention. We have a Q&A session here. Before we begin Q&A, I am going to share the screen where we can see Jim's QR code. Gaurav, can you you're on the screen? Can you share Jim's slide number 12? Just want to make sure I didn't pay attention to put his QR code on for a second.
That's fine. You don't need. It's easy to find. Jim Ayub, IYOOB. Not a lot of Ayubs out there. You're more than,
that's right. Unique name already. Unique
go
name
to
already.
LinkedIn. It's a unique name. Feel free to connect with me. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. Open for questions and answers. Questions, we have the first question that came in a little early already, and that's for Jim. Jim, this is Matthew from, Texas is asking, since outsourcing majorly happens offshore these days, how can I assure service quality is maintained? And what do I need to do to assure I'm on top of my service provider, what my service provider is doing?
Gotcha. Great question. Great question, Matthew, actually. So this is what I talked about a little bit early, but when you define your service levels, that's the key. A lot of these outsourcers out there just say, yes, I can do that. I can give you people. But when you think about it, you want to define that SOW, that scope of services. What am I going to do as the person who's outsourcing? What are my commitments? And then what is the outsourcer's commitments to deliver back to me? And I would tell you, I would put dates, gates, specifics in there so that there's no room for someone to say, well, I just assumed you should have had that. But great question.
All right, fantastic. All right, now we have a number 2 here from Tony. Tony's asking, how do you ascertain the outsourcers or the service providers' capabilities without being able to see his offshore delivery center physically or without visiting them in person, especially in COVID-19 times when traveling is restricted internationally?
Yeah, great question, Tony. So Etech has 8 locations globally. We are onshore, nearshore, and offshore, and I do have clients all over the world that want to actually inspect those places. So we're using video conferencing live to be able to see, walk through these sites. We also have a chief security officer who actually has all the proper documentation for PCI DSS level 2, for SOC 2, and all the certificates you need to have. And that's pretty much the best way to do it. If someone tells you I'm secure, you might want to ask for some credentials. That's what I'll tell you.
Makes sense. Gaurav, do you want to throw some light on this question as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'd just like to add something further to what Jim said. It's a small world, and people have, their contacts, spread across everywhere. So, if you have an acquaintance, back there at, at the offshore center, whichever country, you might be in, say, we are in India with our delivery center here. If you have somebody in India who could just, pay a visit to us, we'll be more than happy to, host them and, explain them and then get a good feedback, in terms of our capabilities, our infrastructure, what kind of people we have, enjoy our hospitality, be our guest.
Fantastic. Gaurav, while you're at it, I am going to have a question that's for you from Sarah, from California. Sarah is asking, you mentioned accountants offshore. Hi, Sarah. Everybody's going to say hi to Sarah first. You said the accountants offshore are well updated with onshore accounting and tax regulations sitting offshore, such that they're able to meet the basic requirements of managing finance and accounting. How are you going to assure they're familiar with the regulations? All right.
It's a very good question, Sarah. And I think, the most important thing that, I addressed earlier in my presentation was judging, the outsourcer or the outsourced accountant, by his, team's competency, the experience and the skill set that they have, and how do they acquire them. So, let me tell you that, globally, US CPAs alone, if I'm just talking about United States, there are about 650,000 plus CPAs today in the US alone. And, there's a huge proportion of it, or a huge number of those 650,000 CPAs, are Indians particularly. Because I'm just talking, from my example, you're from India. There are a lot of youth, chartered accountants, commerce masters, they basically, tend to take up, US CPA, after they have qualified, as a further degree for specialization purposes. So, we have, people, with those qualifications at our end. What we do is that we make sure that we are going to make sure that they have the regular updates available to them at all possible times, as and when, the changes are happening, in the various, states of America. And they have those updates being received to them on a regular basis. We conduct training sessions with senior CPAs and chartered accountants who are familiar with the US and UK industries, and they all get a valuable insight from time to time as to what are the tax and regulatory changes that are happening, at least precisely being able to take care for things from the accountant's perspective. So they do definitely have the complete basic knowledge of things. And of course, every resource who works at our end, there will always be a client partner at CharterCPA who will be liaising with the client, and the client partner will usually be taking care of reviewing the accountant's work always before signing it off to the client. And that way we kind of assure that there's nothing that is missed in terms of delivery, in terms of the regulations, in terms of the accounting standards, the gap. We just want to make sure that the reporting is in line with what is expected. Does that answer your question, Sarah? I hope so.
Sarah, you can send in a chat answer to me here on the chat screen. Yeah, okay, super. Okay, let me see here. Do we have any more questions?
No, I guess not.
I don't see anything here.
Perfect time. It's 3:03.
All right.
Only went off
Yes,
by
sir.
a couple of minutes.
Yes,
Oh,
I
great.
guess. Well, I want to take at the outset, thank the entire team of audience. We have a very large number of people, more than I expected, attending from, majority of them from the US. We have quite a few folks from other places. Thank you very, very much for attending today's webinar. Again, I'm Hardik Panchal, from CharterCPA. I want to thank everybody for coming to our webinar. We are going to do a few more, most likely every month, at least one. And we're going to have, visionary leaders like Jim. Jim, I want to thank you very much for, giving this valuable time of yours. I'm very happy to have you, and thank you very, very much on behalf of the audience to you. Thank you very much for being there and provide valuable insights based on your experience in the industry. I remember you're primarily one of the pioneers in the outsourcing industry, and it's absolutely amazing to have somebody like you on board. I want to also, thank my partner Gaurav in India, who's sitting in the office at what's the time, Gaurav, right now?
It's 1:30 a.m.
1:30 a.m. That's right.
It's time for my break.
Time for your break. Good morning to you. You're right there. So Gaurav, thank you very much for spending time today, the valuable time of yours. Thank you very much for sharing insights, answering questions. I am going to also follow up with all the attendees by sending them out an email, sometime in the next 24 hours, giving them a little information. It's more like a thank you email, but it's going to share contact information for Jim and anybody reach out to them at any time. Probably save it in their contact book somewhere to keep it handy. So gentlemen, with that said, once again, to all the attendees, thank you very, very much for attending.
Yeah, Hardik, I'd just like to add something quickly. I'm sure it has been an enlightening session for each one of us, who has attended this webinar. And I'd like to conclude this slot, this session, by saying that businesses have, usually always thrived, with the right techniques and strategies. And these are one of those times when getting back into the grind will, take a lot of time. But with the help of proper outsourcing, and just the right business strategies, it is going to make things normal soon. And while this may take some time, let us be hopeful towards a better future. So thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Jim, any closing remarks?
I just appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for having me. I enjoyed it. Looking forward to many more. God bless everybody. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.